We are going to make a change now with a story that will make you want to hug your children a bit tighter tonight.
It's the story of an infant who died after being left on his stomach too long at a child care center. Workers even noticed something was not right, but did not act until it was too late.
Now the baby's parents want answers. Kelsey Carlson is here with this WRAL investigation. Kelsey?
David and Deborah, this death happened during what is called tummy time. And nearly a year after this preventable tragedy, the criminal investigation with the Army remains open. For the parents, their grief is at a new level, and they are becoming very frustrated. When Santino Degenhardt, known as Sonny, came into the world, the laughter came easy, and life's little moments were spectacular. For parents Rachel and Jason Degenhardt, that laughter now lives only on video.
Lightning McQueen and his winning team.
Rachel spends Fridays reading to her 4-month-old son at his gravesite from a book with Jason's recorded voice. Jason tirelessly pores over documents to understand how his son suffocated without child care workers realizing it. It was March 9th, 2012 that Rachel last saw her son smile when she dropped him off at Pope Child Care Center on Fort Bragg. Both Jason and Rachel are soldiers at Bragg, and Jason was on assignment at the time.
I went to work and received a dreadful call. When I saw him, I knew that something bad had happened. I just didn't know what happened to him.
Sonny suffocated on the floor during tummy time, while a child care worker was getting the room ready for the day by cleaning bottles and putting sheets on mattresses.
Just like any other parent, you know, was begging God to just, you can take my life, just let him live, you know.
He was on life support for 6 days before Jason and Rachel said their final goodbyes on March 15th.
The last time I saw him, he was a beautiful, healthy boy.
Added to their painful loss, the frustration about trying to find out what happened to Sonny.
The first time I got any details was when I requested it from the state's investigation, and I received it, September? 6 months later?
There's a timeline for what happened because there was a surveillance camera in that room. Keep in mind that Sonny was especially vulnerable on his stomach because he could not roll over on his own yet. At 7:13 a.m., the worker placed him awake on his stomach on a mat. Then at 7:16, she puts a blanket under him. Sonny remains on his stomach on that mat. Then at 7:24, he stops moving. And at 7:32, the worker goes to pick him up and realizes he's not breathing. According to the report, there is plenty of blame to go around for those last 8 crucial minutes. At 7:26, a cook came in, pointed at the child, and said he did not look right, but did not check him out. Then at 7:30, another staff member came in, commented that he looked funny, but did not check him out. Finally, at 7:32, worker Vera Grant, the worker supervising him, began CPR, but only breathing, no chest compressions. Grant was dismissed from the center, and Fort Bragg investigators say the criminal investigation is pending almost a year later. Grant told investigators she followed the same routine each day. Her training was current, and she had 36 years of experience. Fort Bragg child care training for tummy time requires eye contact and a maximum 3 to 5 minutes for infants that cannot roll over yet, a rule that was clearly broken in this case. Bragg spokesman Tom McCullum says the Army recognizes this horrible tragedy and remains committed to learning from it.
There was a lot of extensive training that followed this, and that was all part of our review of, was there something that we could have done that could have prevented it?
Even though this center is on federal property, it also maintains a state license. We've learned through public documents that the state's training on tummy time is not very specific, saying only that infants need to be supervised. Despite Sonny's case, the state has not changed tummy time training or alerted child care providers of his death. An investigator in the medical examiner's office did raise the question as to whether an alert should go out about the danger of blankets. The Degenhardts are frustrated that their son's death was preventable, and they want action and acknowledgement.
Not one person has sent us a card, has called to apologize, has sent us condolences, sympathies,
Has taken
anything.
ownership of this
There's been
incident.
absolutely no response from them to us as soldiers or parents to say we're sorry.
At Sonny's funeral, Jason read a letter from his wife about how they had planned for this baby for years.
4 years of our patience turned into 4 months of pure love. He was alive for exactly 142 days. And unofficially, I think he received 10,000 kisses.
I do love you.
And now together, they hope no child dies this way again.
And I held him as he left for Heaven's Gate.
Vera Grant, the child care worker in charge of Sonny, and her attorney have not responded to our request for an interview. Through public records, we know she was caring for Sonny, a 9-month-old, a 13-month-old, and a 17-month-old that morning. She told an Army investigator she was focused on getting everyone to the table to eat at the same time that morning. The Department of Health and Human Services also would not talk on camera, but released a statement saying in part that it is monitoring training. Again, the state has not made any changes to its tummy time training to better define what supervision is.
Kelsey, it's an amazing story. First off, I'm stunned that this family has not heard from the folks at Fort Bragg. Beyond that, was there any history of problems for this family?
No history of neglect or abuse at this facility prior to Sonny's death. There were a couple of things that were investigated after. There were some changes in management shortly before this time period, and there were some training issues that were noted in prior inspections. I also looked at the Army's investigative report and their interviews, and they talked to a number of people who were involved, and most of them could not recall the specific supervision training for tummy time when asked. We have much more on our website. We have the Army's investigative report, and the family shared a lot of their personal memories with us, and we've put their eulogy from the funeral online. Just search Investigates at WREL.com.
Just heartbreaking, and it all happened so fast. Thank you, Kelsey.
WREL Investigates. Watch and expect answers.
We have a follow-up to a WREL investigation into a baby's death at a child care center.
Our story not only put a spotlight on a case of neglect, it also brought attention to the dangers of what's called tummy time. A local nurse who trains child care teachers is using our report in her classes. Kelsey Carlson has the story.
When WREL aired the story of the tragic death of 4-month-old Sonny Degenhardt,
our fear is of suffocation.
Krista Barber was watching,
That they're going to put their face in that.
and she was inspired to make changes.
I think just like any other parent, is begging God to just, you can take my life, just let him live,
And watching the piece, I thought, I can do something. I can't help these parents, but I can hopefully help that this will never happen to another set of parents again.
Barber trains infant child care providers in Wake County, and she now shows our story to her students to warn them of the dangers of tummy time.
I love you.
Sonny died after he was placed on his stomach for playtime, known as tummy time, at his Fort Bragg Child Care Center. He stopped breathing face down in a blanket without child care workers around him noticing.
They're not going to suffocate on their back.
Krista Barber says the story is a reality check for any teacher who sees it.
I can't even imagine. I mean, I can't imagine. And, it scares me too, taking care of infants every day.
There should be a lot more training. It should be incorporated just like SIDS.
When WREL looked into state training, we found very specific information about SIDS deaths and how to place infants on their backs to sleep. But the guidelines are not specific on supervision when they're awake during tummy time. In fact, tummy time is just one slide in a PowerPoint presentation for a 2-hour class like this one, and it generically says infants need to be supervised. Krista Barber is using our story to explain how much supervision infants need when they are on their stomachs. And she has the full support of the Wake County group that funds her training.
I do love you.
Training can become routine.
The state did send all trainers like Krista a link to our story after it aired, but no official changes in the guidelines have been made yet.
I believe it will be imprinted on their hearts tonight after they watch the story.
We've heard from other instructors as well. A trainer at Fort Drum in New York wants to use our story in a class, and an instructor at a technical college in Indiana wants to use our story as part of a discussion for a child development class. Kelsey Carlson, WRAL News.
And Kelsey, as the child care worker who was in charge of Sunny Degenhardt did lose her job, no criminal charges were filed. Others who entered the room that morning were retrained. The Degenhardt family also shared a positive update with us. They recently learned 2 of Sunny's heart valves were donated to infants who tonight are doing well.